My husband's family is Slovakian, so his grandmother was called Babka. My impression of her was just a figure nodding harmlessly away in a rocking chair at every family gathering. We were expecting our firstborn when my husband's older sister called me, with panic in her voice. See, I figured Babka had something like dementia. She never interacted with other family members, just smiled silently. So I was expecting a call. Just not this particular call. My sister-in-law said that Babka had gotten out. If we saw her, we were to call sister back. Don't approach her, don't take her anywhere. Odd, but we agreed. That afternoon, I wanted to go out and get some prenatal vitamins for son number 1. My husband got the keys, we're out the door, and we spot her sitting in the back seat. Babka was a tiny old woman, 4'11", maybe, decked out in black clothing with brightly colored borders, wrinkled as an apple peeled and left in the cupboard. She was smiling toothlessly at us like there was nothing wrong. There was a lot wrong. For starters, we keep that damn car locked while we're not in it. My husband, the loving grandson, opens the door and asks what she's doing there. Babka says she has a doctor's appointment. Could he drive her? My husband's first response is no. But she wears him down, the loving grandson, and he promises to take her on one errand. Then it's straight back home. I had reservations about even getting in the car. Something weird was going on, and nobody was explaining anything to me. But then I thought about the father of my children driving off with this weird old lady who's never spoken before, and I buckled myself in. Babka seemed distracted by my presence. While my husband drove, she kept asking him about fond childhood memories he had. Remember that time you came over for the summer? Remember when your uncle carved you that horse? My husband nodded and smiled dreamily, rolling down memory lane with her. I noticed we weren't on the way to the hospital. Babka hadn't given him any directions either. I asked where the hell we were going. Babka fell silent. Then they began whispering back and forth in Slovakian. My husband was the second generation born in the States. He barely knew enough Slovakian to find the bathroom. Yet somehow he was carrying on an entire back and forth conversation with Babka. No stammering and no dropped words. We pulled into a storage facility. Again, I asked what the hell. Again, I was ignored. My husband piloted the car down long, winding rows of storage units. Babka was murmuring something encouragingly. I was holding on to my belly bump like it was a life preserver. We stopped in front of a unit with a much dented door. I don't know anything other than English, but I could tell from her tone of voice that she was telling him to wait. She'll be right out. My husband just smiled and nodded. The unit's door was open about a foot. Babka got on her hands and knees and crawled like a lizard through the gap. I immediately started in on my husband. What was going on? Where were we? Why was he acting like this? My husband shushed me. Babka would be back in just a minute. I fought with him. I snatched his cell phone away and dialed his sister. His sister asked where we were. husband cheerfully said we're just at the store getting prenatal vitamins. I was in shock. I shouted that we weren't. He drove Babka to a storage unit and someone needed to tell me what the fuck was going on. My husband acted indignant. Why was I lying? We were at the store. On the phone, Sister had gone quiet. We needed to come over, right this second. Husband refuses to start the car until I threatened to get out and walk. I think he made more turns than he needed to when driving out of the storage place. Maybe he was thinking I'd change my mind. I finally had to jerk the wheel when I saw the front gate. He was sullen the whole drive back to the family house. I looked behind us a few times, afraid I'd see the old lady suddenly appear in the rearview mirror. His sister was waiting in the driveway for us. I could see her relief before I even unbuckled my seatbelt. My husband was borne away into the big house by a number of cousins and uncles. Sis held my hand and asked if I could come with her. She had much to tell me. Over a cup of tea, she told me that their grandparents had not been very good people. Nice enough to their grandkids. But basically, when they got old enough, they fell ill and something got into them. The grandfather had been first. Dealing with him had cost the life of an uncle. My husband had been too young to remember what they'd gone through, so he hadn't heeded the warning well enough. She told me my children would be safe, because they had me for a mother. I thanked her. I asked, was anyone going to get Babka from the storage facility? By Sister's face, I could already kind of tell the answer. She said they would deal with it, and remained tight-lipped after that. After 5 hours, they let me in to see my husband. They'd done some sort of ceremony on him, held him down while they pulled something from his ear. It was a tooth. My husband slept for 3 days. He didn't remember what happened after he woke up. He still jokes to people about the time I made him shop for prenatal vitamins with the flu and he passed out in the store. I let him laugh about it. And I tell the kids not to ever go away with an old woman dressed in black with bright trim. They have no Babka.